All right, so in the wake of John Fetterman absolutely curb stomping corporate ghoul Connor Lamb in the Democratic primary up in Pennsylvania for that Senate seat, we are now starting to look forward to who John Fetterman is potentially going to be taking on in the general election this November. So we still don't have the final results here from the GOP primary. We got Mehmet Oz against Dave McCormick, but as you can see here from the results, very, very close. We got Oz at 31.2% to McCormick down here at 31.1%, and it's looking like there's going to be some, legal battles. There's going to be some infighting within the Republican Party over who is going to take this eventual nomination. So, that's only going to play further into John Fetterman's hand. I hope that this gets nasty, and all of that should be entertaining to see. But assuming that John Fetterman is going to be going up against Mehmet Oz, Dr. Oz, in the general election, we are starting to get a glimpse into what type of messaging that Dr. Oz is going to be running with. And so I wanted to focus in on specifically the area of marijuana legalization, because I think it is a perfect opportunity for a candidate like John Fetterman to lean into a very, very popular policy that his opponent not only doesn't really understand fully, but is actually coming out strongly against the prospect of legalizing weed in Pennsylvania. So let's go ahead and hear from Dr. Oz, who apparently is a doctor, but doesn't really seem to understand the medicinal and otherwise benefits of legalizing marijuana.
Has won statewide in Pennsylvania. He's got that going for him. He is a big... He doesn't dress like a normal politician. He's always wearing hoodies and he wears shorts. He wants to legalize marijuana, I believe, which essentially, quite frankly, seems to be legal. What is your stance on that, by the way, marijuana?
There are not enough Pennsylvanians to work in Pennsylvania. So giving them pot so they stay home is not, I don't think, an ideal move. I also don't want to breed addiction to marijuana. It's not physical addiction, it's emotional addiction. But I don't want young people to think they have to smoke a joint to get out of their house in the morning. We need to get Pennsylvanians back at work. You got to give them their mojo. And I don't want marijuana to be a hindrance to that. I also don't want people operating heavy machinery and driving by me when they've been taking their fourth joint of the day. But there are other issues that are plaguing Pennsylvanians. We're a border state practically, right? Because they're flying illegal immigrants up here from the border in the middle of the night, these night flights, but they're also getting their narcotics up here really easily. And
okay. So, all right, there was a lot going on in that clip. Obviously, he, kind of spun it into an attack on immigrants at the end there, which is kind of weird because if you're messaging about legalizing marijuana is that it's going to make people lazy and we don't have enough workers within the state of Pennsylvania, then you would think that it would be a good thing that you are bringing in immigrants who are going to become workers within the state. Kind of contradictory messaging there on the immigration side of it, but on the marijuana side of it, I mean, what the fuck is this guy talking about? Talking about how if you legalize weed, it's going to cause young people to stay home, or people are going to be driving heavy machinery while they're absolutely blasted off of 4 or 5 joints, as he was talking about there. Like, what are you talking about, dude? I mean, just think about this same exact line of logic that he is putting forward here being applied to anything else that is even mildly addictive or even more addictive than marijuana. Things like alcohol or cigarettes, which are legal in Pennsylvania, but Dr. Oz isn't coming out here and saying we should criminalize alcohol, because what about the alcoholics who are going to work drunk and they're operating heavy machinery? I mean, this line of logic, it's completely deranged and delusional, but I hope that he keeps leaning into this, because this is something that, again, is overwhelmingly popular in the state of Pennsylvania and also just broadly among the American people. So here from Marijuana Moment, they point out that Pennsylvania marijuana poll shows highest ever support for legalization. So 58% roughly in this specific poll that they were doing here by Muhlenberg College, they say 58% support legalization of marijuana. So, he's coming out here and he's pushing bullshit lines of attack, again, kind of just insinuating that every single person who uses marijuana in the state of Pennsylvania is just a lazy piece of shit who needs to get back to work. But, overwhelmingly, Pennsylvania voters are in favor of legalizing marijuana, so they would be against this position by Dr. Oz, which is just another reason for John Fetterman to lean even more heavily into this issue, to create a dichotomous comparison between him and Dr. Oz, as well as obviously many other policies. But a great issue for John Fetterman to be leaning into on this one. Also, just on the creating jobs side of this, right? So we're gonna get to a John Fetterman clip here from his website in a minute, where he breaks down all of the reasons reasons, including job creation, why he supports marijuana. But I mean, yeah, if you look at any of the data surrounding this, legalizing marijuana is not going to destroy jobs. It's not going to prevent people from going to work. It's not going to, create a generation of young, addicted, lazy people. It's going to do the exact opposite of that. I mean, on top of the criminal justice angle of this, of, a freedom angle of this, of not throwing people in jail and creating the largest prison population in the history of planet Earth for, people who are engaging in non-violent drug offenses and just using marijuana for their own personal benefit or their own personal use. On top of the, freedom aspect of that, on top of the criminal justice aspect of that, you also have the economic aspect of that, which, indicates, according to all of the data that I've seen at least, that legalizing marijuana is going to create potentially millions of jobs across the country, and also would have the added benefit of bringing in plenty of tax revenue for state and local governments as well as the federal government that they can then use to reinvest in the American people. So on every single angle that you want to look at an issue like marijuana, it is a political winner. I mean, both on the politics, the economics, the criminal justice angle of it, every single angle you could possibly look at this at, even if you're somebody who, for example, like I want to completely change the way that we view policing in this country, right? This would be a step in the right direction in starting to deconstruct the war on drugs that we have been conducting for decades in this country at a complete failure. I mean, at a fundamental level, if you care about the drugs that are pouring across the border into Pennsylvania, which is another weird thing that he was just saying there, as if Pennsylvania is a border state, but if you have a problem with the drugs that are coming in illicitly into Pennsylvania, well, the way that you take on the drug cartels isn't by expanding the militarization of the police state. You would do it by taking away their business, by legalizing a lot of these drugs, or at the very least, depending on which drug you're talking about, decriminalizing it and investing in mental health and investing in systems that would allow people to seek addiction instead of continuing this incarceration cycle. So again, on every single front, John Fetterman has the superior position to Dr. Oz, and I'm guessing also Dave McCormick probably has a similar position to Dr. Oz. So regardless of who ends up being the nominee, this is an issue that John Fetterman absolutely has to lean into. Now, he is pretty much leaning into this. I mean, he's literally selling a legal weed for PA shirt on his website, so clearly doesn't have a problem with advertising his position on this. But again, I told you guys I was going to show you a video from his channel where he he has a bunch of these different videos if you want to go to his website and look at all of his positions on different policies. But here on legalization of weed, just wanted to show you guys exactly why he is in support of this.
5 years ago, I stood in this exact same place and I called for the legalization of weed in this country. I was the only candidate at the time to do that. And now 5 years later, I renew that same call for any number of reasons. But most importantly, for the criminal justice aspect of it. Blacks and whites consume weed at equal levels, but there are 3 to 4 times more likely to receive criminal penalties for doing so. The war on drugs needs to stop, and we need to legalize weed across this country. Then you add in the revenue, then you add in the jobs for our farmers, for our veterans, and just the freedom of it. This idea that we have allowed a plant to be illegal and criminalized in this country is absurd.
All right, so, John Fetterman, I think he's absolutely the better candidate when compared especially to dudes like Connor Lamb, who he just curb stomped, or any of the Republicans, regardless who ends up taking the nomination, whether it's Dr. Oz or whether it's David McCormick. John Fetterman, obviously not a perfect politician. I have my issues with some of the positions that he's taken, specifically on things like fracking and Israel and a couple other ones, but nonetheless, this is a guy who we would absolutely benefit from having in the Senate. So I hope that he leans into popular issues like this, like expanding healthcare, like investing in renewable energy, etc. All of the other, $15 minimum wage, supporting unions through the PRO Act, all of these other positions that he has staked out. Clearly, he would be one of the better senators that we have in our massively corrupt cesspool that we have, that we call our government. So I hope that John Fetterman leans into this issue as well as those other ones. And honestly, I hope that dudes like Dr. Oz and the rest of Republicans keep openly coming out and showing not only their ignorance, but also their, how much they despise average Americans who maybe just want to smoke a joint at the end of the day, or despise the millions and millions of people across the country who have had their lives completely destroyed for the crime of, as John Fetterman was just saying, they're smoking a plant.